Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Big Idea Podcast. My name is Eric Bramlett. I am your host today. We are planning a 3-week series called 3-2-1. It's kind of a countdown series, if you're looking for a way to apply that metaphor. We are countdowning to the service and the weekend of September 14th, which we're currently calling Opening Day. It's opening day for all of our seasons of ministry at Community Christian Church, and so we're kicking off in style with a great series called Love Can. But this series, 3-2-1, is what's sort of getting us ready for that series. Now, I want to talk to you about a few things with regards to this series. The first is that this video or audio that I'm sending to you is only a part of what I would like for you to prepare in order to be ready for brainstorming content. The first 2 weeks of this series, we are using liberally the great and grand teachings of Mr. Bill Hybels as he was delivering a communication to section leaders for his Willow Creek auditorium. He actually, in their auditorium, in the many different sections that they have, they've identified section leaders whose role it is essentially to fill that section, to invite people to come to their section, but then also to include and to connect people within their section so that that group right there feels like it's a part of something bigger and begins to explore what it means like to be in community. So he's got 2 talks. One of them, content is really going to hit our first week of this series, 3-2-1. And then the second talk will really hit the second, did I say second? First and second. Then the second week of our content. So this series, 3-2-1, has 3 parts. The first is invite. We got to know how important it is to invite our friends, and in particular, we would say for this one, we're talking about inviting towards September 14th, opening day. The second week is about including and connecting and what it means to really begin the process of doing life together, starting being in a small group together. And then the third week is about prayer. And really just this notion that we have a responsibility and we know that great things happen when we pray. And so communicating with God and asking for Him to do the things that only He can do is a super, super huge important part of this countdown. 3-2-1. Invite, include, pray. And so for the invite and include weeks, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time sort of talking through this stuff because I really do want you to watch the Bill Hybels videos. Now, the first video for week 1 for include is actually called Fill. Okay, it's about filling the seats. And it's really strong, just understanding that God can't do much with an empty seat. And so if that seat is empty, that means that that's somebody there who can't raise their hand in order to participate in the service. Why can't they raise their hand? Because they're not there. So inviting is a huge part. And then the passage that's being used is the parable from Luke 14, verses 16 through 24, where Jesus talks about the big banquet, where there was an inviting of many guests, but people weren't coming, and the master sort of opened, go out to the roads and the country lanes, compel everyone to come in so that my house will be full. This whole notion of this banquet. And so you'll see in Hybels' talk how he incorporates that into this notion of filling these seats. And again, remember that contextually he's talking to leaders about their environments for weekend services, but certainly will be applicable to us. So I'm not going to say anything more about that because I really do want you to check that out. The second week is over Labor Day weekend, and we are talking about including. And it's true, people find their way back to God when they are included. And this story talks about Barnabas, when Barnabas sort of had to introduce or defend or bring Saul into the group of disciples when the disciples were afraid and unaware and untrusting of Saul's conversion. And Barnabas actually was the one who sort of shared Paul's story with the group. And so there's really like a few things there in terms of how we can include people. And one of the things is that the stakes are extremely high. If Barnabas hadn't done what he had done, think about how much of the New Testament we wouldn't have if Saul was not welcomed and included into that early community of Christ followers. So the stakes are really high. We need everyone to be an includer. And so those are the things that, again, Bill Hybels lays out so well in that talk. So make sure that you are watching that as well. Okay, now our third week, and this is after Labor Day. People are back in school, and we're focusing in on prayer. We are again telling a story from the early church in the New Testament. And this story is essentially when Peter went up on the roof to pray. He had this amazing vision that had to do with the bringing together of Jews and Gentiles. And then immediately after, Cornelius had a vision, and where an angel appeared to him, or a man in shining clothes, as it says, God has heard your prayer and remembered it. Gets him to the point where he needs to go meet this guy named Peter. So all of this is coming together, and it's coming together within the construct of prayer. Both Cornelius, essentially as a pre-Christian, is praying, and he heads to Peter to experience kind of this answer to this prayer. And so the way in which we'll be applying this is really in this way, that first of all, that we need to pray for God so that God will have an opportunity to speak. Okay, so basically both Cornelius and Peter were in their separate environments, waiting and listening and praying, and they were both spoken to by God. Okay, and then the other side of this is that we really do want to pray for God to give us the opportunity to lead us to the unexpected. Okay, the storyline here with Peter was that he was not expecting to be in a position to welcome the Gentiles. And so that was a big sort of left turn for him. It required a vision, a really kind of crazy vision, but then also this moment in time where he had to, be really just understand that God had brought Cornelius to him specifically for this moment. It was not expected. It was not what he thought was going to be, sort of how it was going to play out. And the reality is that we pray, and we pray to help people find their way back to God, and really just understanding that thinking back to when we first found our way back to God, that someone prayed for us, and so we're going to be diligent and pray for them. And we're actually offering a challenge to every location to consider during that week leading up to September 14th to actually create an environment, create a structure, a sign-up, an opportunity for every campus to be participating in 24/7 prayer, bathing that whole week in prayer, getting sign-up times, an hour at a time, a couple hours at a time, a group together, maybe on-site, maybe not always on-site, but just knowing that for an entire week from Sunday to Sunday, that there is a 24/7 experience of prayer that's happening that week. So those are the 3 weeks that make up the series 3-2-1. It's all about inviting and including and prayer. Many of the things that we've done in the past certainly could be brought to bear, some of our creative elements, so be thinking about that. These are topics that are not familiar to us, but I do think that using the Bill Hybels for the first 2 weeks, his message construct, and just the way that he's sort of shaping this communication, I think we'll feel new and we'll feel fresh, and certainly will feel immediate. So that's my recommendation. I'm going to stop this podcast time because I really want you to spend time and energy experiencing the Hybels videos. So the link is right there on the YouTube notes. The link is also in the description on the podcast, and I'm sure that Sherry will include the link in the email as well as on the 3-2-1 Big Idea map. So you should have no trouble finding it. And of course, if you do, just ask Sherry, because Sherry knows literally everything. All right, that's all I have to say about that. It's probably the shortest Big Idea podcast ever, but like I said, it is not the end of the story. Please go and check out those talks so that we can be ready to brainstorm and bring it all together for the big idea planning, both for large group, for the big idea factory, and also small group curriculum. A huge opportunity to be able to gain some insight and prepare awesome curriculum for all of our attenders. All right, thanks everybody. This has been Eric Bramlett for the Big Idea Podcast. See you later.